On the subject of what exactly we're going to see, Tara, I think that's a really good question, because DOJ could say, oh, we're investigating right now, we can't release all this stuff. Or Bloomberg had been reporting that they were already redacting stuff back in August. They had FOIA'd a request and saw that there were redactions of the president's name and the president's information already in the Epstein file. So what exactly are we going to see? And that does just raise the perennial question here, which is, why is Donald Trump so uncomfortable with this? I'm not sure if you saw around 1 o'clock today when he was in the Oval Office with MBS, Mary Bruce of ABC asked him a simple question, asked it in a perfectly polite way. Why don't you just release the Epstein files yourself? Because he has the authority to do it. He doesn't need Congress's help. And instead of answering her question, he went on a multi-minute diatribe about how he doesn't like her and how disgusting she is and how he doesn't like ABC. It was a personal attack. It made not a lot of sense. And then he tried to deflect onto the Democrats, never answered the question about why he doesn't just release the files. Why is he so uncomfortable with this?
Well, first of all, I've worked with Mary Bruce at ABC, and she is a stellar reporter and does not deserve that kind of abuse for asking questions, which are her right as a journalist. And every person that is in that Oval Office is representing their constituent, representing the people. That is what the press does when they ask those questions. So he's actually attacking his own constituents when he attacks members of the press. Why is he afraid of the Epstein files? That is, I think, the question that has been lingering over this all along. It's extremely disturbing to me to learn that they are already redacting these documents. I always thought that there would be strategic redactions, even if the files were released. At the end of the day, we have Pam Bondi, who will be overseeing this. She is basically just an avenger for President Trump. She went from saying, I have the Epstein list on my desk, that is something that she told Fox News, to July, a few months later, saying there is no list. There are no third-party perpetrators in the largest sex trafficking operation in history, and case closed. It's all done. Now, they've reopened the case, but to specifically target Democrats. And so I could see them saying, well, we reopened a case. These are sensitive case documents. We can't just hand them over. It's an ongoing investigation, something that President Trump has used in the past in regard to his tax returns. I don't know if you remember that about the audit. He would always say, well, there's an audit. There's an audit. That's why I'm not releasing my tax returns. Could see something similar to that happening. But ultimately, we are at the discretion of a person who has already blatantly lied about this case, Pam Bondi, who takes her orders from President Trump, who has made it very clear he does not want these Epstein files released in their entirety.
Yeah, and you spent a lot of time with Virginia Giuffre. I'm going to just read a little bit about a little of what you wrote about her. You say you saw that fire in her up close. We traveled across the country together, knocking on the doors of people who had worked for Jeffrey Epstein. It took enormous courage to face them, to relive her trauma, not to blame, but to find meaning. She wanted to hear someone say, yes, Virginia, I remember you. I see you now. It may sound naive, but she believed even the smallest act of acknowledgement could help piece her life back together. I think it cannot be overstated what she did to force this issue into the public, to force the House to call a vote on it, to put the President of the United States in a position where, if it gets to his desk, he has said he will say yes to it.
It's incredible. I mean, when you think about the timing, her book coming out just at this time, I am heartbroken because I know that Virginia fought for over a decade to be heard, and for most of that decade to be ignored, for people to be slamming the doors in her face. I saw it up close. I know how hard it was for her when the British press just dragged her through the mud as she showed photographic evidence of herself with Prince Andrew. And for so long, she was dismissed. And now, because of her, and she was one of the first survivors of Jeffrey Epstein to come out publicly and say, this is not right. I am willing to be dragged through the mud until people finally listen to me. And without her, we wouldn't be here right now. And I think she gave permission and she gave strength to her survivor sisters. And I know, I mean, it's so sad that she's even being used as like in these cynical political games. They're using her name, and she can't even be here to explain for herself. But what she did changed the course of history. And the fact that she made it clear that she wanted her book published, whether she was alive or not. I mean, I really believe the words in her book that they made this happen. And if you listen to the podcast Broken Jeffrey Epstein and you hear her voice and you hear her interactions with the people that she knew when she was 16, 17 years old under their control, I mean, these are real people. This isn't just some political fight. These are people whose lives were broken from this. And I know that her family has represented her so well, her brother, and her sister-in-law, and they've just been fighting this fight for her. And I know it's a burden for them to carry for her. But again, like, Virginia's a warrior. She's a singular voice that when she was told, go away, she never went away. And she deserves a lot of credit.
She just refused to be quiet. She refused to let it lie. She refused to let people get away with it. And you're right to say that she was a very powerful figure, and she's changing the course of history. Cornell, Belcher, thank you so much. Tara Palmeri, thank you very much. Brendan Buck, Ali Vitale, appreciate it.
That was another episode of the Tara Palmeri Show. If you like this show, please subscribe, rate it, share it with all your friends. If you want to support my independent journalism and get my exclusive reporting straight to your inbox, go to tarapalmeri.com. That's TARAPALMERI.com. Sign up for my newsletter, The Red Letter. That is how you keep me in business. I want to thank my producer, Eric Abinate, Abby Baker, who does my research and social media, and Adam Stewart on the graphics. See you again tomorrow.